Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Lendra James. I'm the host of Nurses with Voices. And today I want to talk about my book, Confessions of a Nurse Executive: Conscious and Unconscious Bias in Healthcare. One of the things that led me to start my podcast was the bias that occurred in healthcare that drove me to write my book, which really transpired into nurse entrepreneurship and nurse coaching and mentorship. And so, a little bit about me: I've been a nurse for over 22 years. And during that time, I worked across the country. I worked in several areas of nursing, and I got into nursing leadership. And I worked my way up to nursing leadership, achieved my Doctor of Nursing Practice degree. And during that time in leadership, I noticed a lot of bias. And while experiencing that bias, and just also noticing the bias that my colleagues also were going through, and staff members and patients, it made me really change my perspective. And in doing so, I actually had to step away so that I can really be a part of the solution and not the problem, right? And I'll get to what I mean by that. And one of the things that I did was I put together this book called Confessions of a Nurse Executive, as I mentioned. And within this book, it really helps you to realize the basis of where bias comes from, right? Bias affects our hiring, it affects our promotions, it affects our mentorship, and it ultimately affects our community. And because of this, we have to make sure that we are living with our purpose and living for our purpose. And what I did was I created a framework around my book, Confessions of a Nurse Executive. So that framework includes, I use the bias framework, and that framework is, again, being a part of the solution and not the problem. What can you do in the community? We're here today at the Congressional Black Caucus event, and it's because we want to make an impact. We want to have an impact on who we meet. We want to have an impact on our community, right? And the I is for investing in yourself. Invest in yourself. Seek mentorship. Invest in yourself in going into trainings. Invest in yourself in finding out what your solutions are or what your resources are. That's how you invest in yourself. When you're educated, you're more empowered and you're able to advocate. And you have to ask for help. You have to ask for the help because you may not always have the help readily available that you need. I needed mentorship when I was in nursing leadership, and I never had it. And because of that, that is what prompted me to start mentoring other nurses and healthcare professionals. Mentorship is so huge, and sometimes because of bias, you don't get the mentorship that you deserve or that you need when you're in certain areas. So for me, it was a lot of figuring things out on my own. I had to figure out budgets. I had to figure out how to run my teams. And because I had such a vast experience in healthcare and had worked across the country, I knew what programs should look like within the healthcare system, which is why I was able to build intermediate care units from the ground up when I worked at one organization, why I was able to reduce falls at another organization, right there, why I was able to partner with medical directors and understand the needs of my nursing staff, why I was able to have my lead my units to receiving Daisy Team awards, right? So there's intricacies, but just I always imagine what I could have done and accomplished had I had mentorship. So mentorship is something that is so important and is so powerful to me. And the S is for seeking guidance. I alluded to this earlier when I started talking about the B for bias and the I for investing in yourself. If you don't seek that guidance, you're going to continue to feel like you're alone, and you don't have to be alone. You have to know that there's someone out there who can be a resource for you, or there's someone out there who's going through what you're going through, or who's been there, and they're able to get you to that next level in your career. Whether that next level is starting your own business, whether that next level is going from where you are to advancing to the next level in your career, that's where seeking guidance comes into play. So my book is really taking that a lot of that information and is giving you the opportunity to be able to see and recognize the biases that occur in healthcare. And is really important, especially for, our community, especially for the community of nurses and healthcare workers who they deal with these biases, or they deal with them either, or maybe their family members deal with them. Because guess what? A lot of times we don't know. We don't know the questions to ask. We don't know and realize, because the people who are making decisions at the top, there's not always a diverse community of individuals making those decisions. So what happens is every culture is different and everyone's needs are different. And if we're not able to fulfill all of those needs, we continue to have a vicious cycle of bias. And there's a continuous cycle where needs are not getting addressed appropriately, which is why we have a lot of things, occurrences in the media now that are affecting healthcare. Not only is it leading to nursing burnout and nurses are steering away from the bedside, and we need our nurses at the bedside, but there's also a lot of the community who are coming forth and they're sharing their stories, and they're not sharing their stories in a way that sheds a beautiful light on healthcare, and that's not what we want. We want people to know and trust our healthcare system. And how do they do that? You do that by becoming more knowledgeable and by educating yourself and being able to advocate for yourself. And when we have to start with breaking down the biases that occur. So thank you so much for listening, and please make sure that you can. My book is available at dljamesconsulting.com. The book is readily available, or it's here at the Congressional Black Caucus. You can come see my booth, Dr. Lendra James. Thank you.